So, welcome to Corporate Bhagavad Gita reading. We will start with the prayers which are on my screen. You can repeat with me. Om Ajnana-Timirandasya Jnana-Shalakhaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swayambhava. Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuktapadakamam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devatam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopeshu Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavani Shri Vishabhanu Sudevi Pranamami Haripriya Vansha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So again, welcome to Corporate Bhagavad Gita reading. We are in the ninth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We completed 31st verse. We will go to 32nd verse. So Krishna is talking that here he's telling that yeah, you perform devotional service unto me, you perform bhakti to me, okay, and that will free you from bondage of work and auspicious inauspicious things, and you will become liberated and you will come to me. By performing bhakti you become liberated, you will come to me. And then he says that my devotee, even if he commits abominable action, he quickly comes back to righteousness and attains lasting peace. So my devotee never perishes, my bhakta never gets destroyed, he again comes back. In this regard, um, there is very nice story of Jada Bharat. Probably I may have it in the PPT. Okay. So, he was a king of Rishabh. He was a son of Rishabh Dev. He was son of Rishabh Dev, and Jada Bharat. Just let me take the picture. Okay, everything is not in one slide. Okay, so this is a story of King Bharat. So the name Bharat that comes, right, comes from this particular king who ruled on this land, Bharat. So his name was Bharat. So that's why our India is also called as Bharat. It's a very ancient story. So he was a king, and he ruled for many years. He was son of Rishabh Dev, very advanced pure soul. And then when he retired, he went to this thing. He went to forest and he was performing his spiritual activities over there, his sadhana over there. One day, a baby deer, he saved a baby deer, and then that baby deer become um very close to him, and then he developed attachment for the baby deer. But once what happened is, the baby deer, after growing up, he the baby deer ran away. Hmm? And then in search of that deer, Bharat Maharaj, he went around many places and he left his spiritual activity, and and he became very old and he died actually. He died while thinking of the deer. Okay, so he was a devotee, but due to some silly mistake, he, while dying, instead of thinking about Krishna, he thought about the deer. And Krishna says, Anta kalecha mahameva. Whatever you think at the time of death, you get that body. So now, what body did Bharat Maharaj get in his next life? The deer's body. So he became a deer in the next life. But fortunately, he was made to remember what he was. He was a devotee. So then he was there in the deer's life, but he associated with the Rishi Munis and died a natural death. After that, he took birth again as Jada Bharat. And this time he was a son of a Brahmana, and um, he would act very strangely, meaning he was not at all interested in this world. He would act very strangely. In his heart, he would remember Krishna. So once what happened is there was a king named Rahiguna. Rahiguna, the name of the king, and he needed a person on a to lift his palanquin. So they found Jada Bharat. They found Jada Bharat, and they told him, "Lift me." When Jada Bharat was walking with the palanquin, there were some ants on the road. So he was not in sync with the other lifters. So the king was not having a very comfortable ride, and he started shouting at Jada Bharat. And then Jada Bharat started speaking some philosophy. And then the king understood that this person is not a common person. He's a very elevated person. And then there were many instructions Jada Bharat gave to King Rahuguna. After that, Jada Bharat, he was acting like a person who would be very disinterested in the life. So so once what happened is some dacoits, they they were looking to do some human sacrifice. So they wanted a mad person, and they found Jadavarat, and they thought he's the mad person. So they took him to the Kali Mandir, Mother Kali Mandir, Mata Kali Mandir, and they were about to kill him. They were about to kill him. They were about to kill Bharat. But what happened is Mother Kali, she came out from the DT and killed all the dacoits, because she saw that Bharat is a great devotee, Jada Bharat is a great devotee, and she couldn't accept that he would be killed. So, so the point is, Krishna is saying that even if my devotee commits a very abominable activity, now in this case it was not abominable, it was a silly mistake that he did. But King Bharat became deer, and after deer he again became pure devotee, that is Jada Bharat. So, so devotee of Krishna will never perish. That's one story, that we can see. Okay, now we'll move to text number 32. माम ही पार्थ व्यपाश्रित ये येपि सूय पाप योनिनो स्त्रिय वैश्य तथा शूद्रस ते अपि यन्ति परांगति. O son of Prita, those who take shelter of me, though they may be of lower birth, women, Vaishya and Shudra, can attain the supreme destination. Now, there are some who are of the lower births, like Adivasis, tribal people, and then there are women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Shudras. Sometimes these are not very interested in spiritual life. But Krishna says anybody can take a shelter of me and achieve the supreme destination. Like I was talking Adivasi. Who was the friend of Lord Ram in the forest? Guha. So Guha was the Adivasi, tribal person. But he loved Lord Ram, he served him, and that's how he achieved pure devotional service. That's how he achieved pure devotional service. And then women Women are generally attached to the home, to the family members and all that. To become attached to Krishna, they can become, and the story is of Yagya Patnis. So these were Brahmanas, these were wives of Brahmanas who were doing yagyas near Mathura or near Vrindavan, and they always heard about the beautiful pastimes of Krishna. So once Krishna was feeling hungry, so you know, they he told his friends, go and tell these Brahmanas, can they give us some food? So they rejected. The Brahmana said no. Then they said, okay, on behalf of Balram, at least give. That also they rejected. Then the wives of these Brahmanas, they came to Krishna and brought all the bhoga that they had prepared for the yagya. And Krishna appreciated that, and they became pure devotees. Vaishyas, merchants, uh, generally business minded person is interested in only earning money. So he will show less interest in spiritual life, right? He'll show less interest in spiritual life. There's a very nice story that once a very cloth merchant, cloth merchant, he had grown old and he had amassed a lot of wealth and he had sons also. But somehow his sons were very good, um, spiritual, spiritually advanced persons, and they said to his father, now that you have become old, you should focus on spiritual life. Why are you so much into business? Your time is up. Anytime, anything can happen, whatever. And then to help him understand the importance of spiritual life, they made a Brahmana travel with him to pilgrimage, and they went to Kashi. Now in Kashi, what happens is, Lord Shiva has said that whoever dies in Kashi, Lord Shiva will come and chant the name of Ram in the ear of those who are dying over there. So in a Kashi, there is a ghat, Manikarnika Ghat, I think, where all the dead bodies are burnt. People come there, die there, or the dead bodies are brought and they are burnt over there. Then this Brahmana took this merchant to that place, and there were so many dead bodies, and he was seeing piles of wood and so much of burning. And after some times, the business, the merchant, he started crying. Tears came out from his eyes, and the Brahmana with him thought that maybe he understood something. So when they returned home, they asked him, what was your realization today? So the merchant said, I never knew that wood was so much required. Huh? If wood was so much required, I would have done business of wood and become terribly rich. So his mind was still stuck in business only. So sometimes it's very difficult for those to come to spiritual life. And Shudras are those who just keep working. For them, if they get their daily food, they are just enough. They are happy. Like we will see many people in holy places, they will be doing the daily activities. They'll be running rickshaws and doing lot of things. Working there. But are they interested in that holy place? Are they interested in that holy temple? No. They are interested in I get my work, I get my daily wage, I'm just happy because I'm able to eat 3 times a day. That's it. So sometimes Shudras may not show very high interest. But Krishna is saying any of these may show. Adivasi, woman, Vaishya, Shudra, all of them can attain destination if they take shelter of me. So, so from this statement, we understand that Krishna is welcoming everybody, right? Even the Shudras and the Vaishyas, women, Adivasis, isn't it? So then one may question, why is it that in some temples some entries of Shudras are not allowed, Dalits are not allowed? Does this question come to your mind? Does it question come to your mind? When Krishna is welcoming everyone, why is it that in a temple they are not allowed? Right? We have heard these stories, no? Anyone has this question?
Yes, Prabhuji, question is there.
What do you think? Why such rules are made?
Prabhuji, no background of the rules, but this thing happens.
Yeah. So the thing is, na, there is such, as such no such rule in the temple. Na, everybody is allowed. But over a period of time, what has happened is the Brahmanas, they become corrupted and they made such rules. There are rules of Shudras because they are working, like, in the land, and they are dirty. There are such rules that you should take bath and then come. Okay, such rules are there. So they extrapolated and they said they cannot come only. So actually, from the Vedic point of view, there is no such restriction in temple. Everyone can come. Adivasi, women, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmanas, everyone can, because it's a common place. And we see Krishna is inviting everyone from this shloka. So what has happened is, unfortunately, some rules are being extrapolated, and we get to hear such um, you know restrictions being followed in certain temples, which is actually not to be followed. So understand that, if somebody is saying, this is restricted, that is restricted, you can show this verse 9.32, and you can show that Krishna can give shelter to anybody, even Shudra, Vaishya, woman, lower births. So I hope that understands that, such things are actually not there in the Vedas, but somehow there is some traditions in some temple which were not there 1,000 2,000 years ago. It's a very recent phenomena, 500 600 years kind of phenomena. It is clearly declared here in that the law, that the Supreme Lord, that in devotional service there is no distinction between lower and higher classes of people. See, very first statement, there is no distinction. In the material conception of life, there is such divisions. See, material conception of life, there will be. Like in a five-star hotel, will they allow a beggar? No, right? They won't
No,
allow a
Prabhuji.
beggar in five-star hotel.
No, Prabhuji.
Yeah, but in temple, everybody is allowed. In temple, everyone is allowed. But for a person in transcendental loving devotional service to the Lord, they are not. Everyone eligible for the supreme destination. Okay, everyone is eligible. You know, everyone is eligible. In Shrimad Bhagavatam 2.24018, it states that even the lowest, who called as Chandalas, these are dog eaters, can be purified by association with pure devotee. Even they can become devotees, the Chandalas. Therefore, devotional service and guidance of pure devotee is so strong that there is no discrimination between lower and higher classes of men. Anyone can take to it. The most simple man taking shelter of pure devotee can be purified by proper guidance. So, if they take shelter of a Shuddha Bhakta, a guru, then with guidance they can be purified. According to different modes of material nature, men are classified in mode of goodness, passion, and mixed passion and ignorance, and mode of ignorance. Those lower than them are called chandalas. They are born in sinful families. Generally, the association of those born in such sinful families is not accepted by higher class. But the process of devotional service is so strong that the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord can enable people of all the lower classes to attain the highest perfection of life. This is possible only when one takes shelter of Krishna, as stated here by the word Vyapashritya. Ashritya. Ashritya means one who takes shelter. One who has taken complete shelter of Krishna. Then one can become much greater than greater Gyanis and Yogis. So, so everyone is eligible to become Krishna conscious, to take to spirituality. There is no such restriction. Only thing is they have to do it under the guidance of a guru, under the guidance of a Shuddha Bhakta, pure devotee. Then they can advance. Like we have always discussed the story of Ratnakar, the previous name of Valmiki Rishi. With the association of Narad Muni, the pure devotee, he transformed into Valmiki Rishi, right? So after becoming Valmiki Rishi, Lord Ram also associated with him. Sita Maya also associated with him, and he has become world famous, Valmiki Rishi, like that. So one becomes greater than the great Gyanis and Yogis. Any question? Okay. Kim puna brahma punyam bhakta rajashreha tatha anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhavasya ma bhajasva ma. See again the word bhajasva is there. Bhajasva is bhakti. How much more is this? Okay, how much more this is of the righteous brahmanas, the devotees and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Now, if the lower caste people can become eligible, then what to speak who are already doing it? The Brahmanas, the devotees, the saintly king, the Raj Rishis, they are already devotees of Krishna. They will get success, 100% success. In this material world, there are classification of people, but after all, this world is not a happy place for anyone. It is clearly stated here, Anityam Asukham Lokam. The world is temporary and full of miseries, not habitable for sane gentlemen. Let me just read it again. Anityam Asukham Lokam. Okay. This world is declared by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be temporary and full of misery. Some philosophers, especially Mayavadi philosophers, say that the world is false. But we understand from Bhagavad Gita that the world is not false, it is temporary. It is not false, there is reality. There is a difference between temporary and false. The world is temporary, but there is another world which is eternal. This world is miserable, but the other world is eternal and blissful. Arjuna was born in saintly royal family. To him also the Lord says, take to my devotional service and come quickly back to God and back home. No one should remain in this temporary world, full as it is with misery. So Krishna is saying, come to me, come to my Golok Vrindavan, and you will be happy with it. This particular temporary world is full of miseries. Most of the time there is misery. Only little time there is happiness. Yes or no? Do you agree on this statement?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So the thing is, Krishna says anityam, sukham and all that. Agreed. But devotional service itself is very happy. Okay. It is not like we go to spiritual and then become happy. No. While practicing only devotional service, you become happy. That is the greatness of bhakti. That the goal is brought before only. Just by attempting the paper, you score full marks. Have you heard such a exam? Just by attempting paper, you will get full marks. Have you heard of such an exam? No, right?
No, no,
So,
Prabhuji.
so the
Hmm.
devotional service is like that. The goal and the means are the same. Whatever is the goal is the means. Everything is achieved before only. You don't even have to wait for eternal life. You don't even have to wait to go to Golok Vrindavan. Just by doing devotional service here itself, happiness comes. And we see that. When we chant, when we dance, when we have prasadam, when we talk to devotees, it is all happiness only. Yes or no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. See, people create so many pubs and restaurants and all that, and they make big, big parties. And they spend so much. And so for some happiness, they do. For some happiness, they do get some happiness. And here, devotees also, they come together, they chant the holy name, they discuss about Krishna, and they eat simple prasadam, not even a very um, super enriching, tasty prasadam. No, it is simple, simple prasadam, and they are happy. So that is the power of devotion service. It's even available without charge. So the devotional service of the Supreme Lord is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. Everyone should therefore take to Krishna consciousness and make this life perfect. 9.34 Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vashyasi yuktevam atmanam mat parayanaha. This particular word, verse, shloka, Krishna is going to speak twice in 9.34 and another one in the 18th chapter. Exactly double the chapter. He is going to speak again. What it says, man mana. Man means me, mana means mind. Bhava mad bhakto. Become my devotee, always think of me. Use your mind in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Mad yaji mam namaskuru. Namaskuru. Namaskara. You give you give dandavat to me. That's why when we go to Krishna's temple, we give dandavat, right? Over there. Half dandavat, full dandavat. You become my devotee. Worship me. Mam evaishas yuktevam. You will be absorbed in me. Become absorbed in me. Atmanam mat parayana. Thus you become devoted to me. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, becoming my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me, being completely absorbed in me. Surely you will come to me. So we will go to Krishna. Why? Why do you want to go to Krishna? What is so great in going to Krishna? If someone says, I want to go to USA, I want to go to Europe, what is so great in USA or Europe? Can anyone tell me? What is so great in United States of America and Europe?
Maybe probably nature, the
Nature is here
scenery.
also, but
Uh,
you earn more there
yeah,
and you have some very good facilities. Okay.
yeah.
Now, my question is, when Krishna is saying, come to me, what? Why? What great facility Krishna is providing that we need to go to him?
There it is eternal bliss. They are beyond this death and birth cycle.
Yeah. With Krishna, there is no death, it is eternal. And then, third thing is, it is happiness there. When we reach 15th chapter, we will learn about this. Urdhva moolam adha shakam ashwattam prahur abhayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastam vedasa vedavat. 1 minute. Yeah. You see, this is a tree, and then below one there's a reflection of tree. Do you see this picture? There's tree, and then below one there's a reflection of that same tree. Isn't it? Now, in the reflection, if you see the fruit, where are you supposed to go to get that fruit? Should you dive in the water to get that fruit, or you have to do something else? Where one will go to get that fruit? He sees the fruit in the reflection.
So we'll go to the original.
Yeah. If he goes into the reflection, it is nothing there. If he jumps in the water, he won't get the fruit. Similarly, this world is a reflection of the real world. We see many relationships: parental, friendly, conjugal, servant relationship, right?
Yeah, Prabhuji.
But in all these relationships, there is duality. There is a real tree, there is a reflection tree. What is the symptom of a real tree? It is permanent. Reflection is temporary. Real tree is absolute. Reflection tree is duality. In real tree, if there is happiness or sadness, it is uplifting. But in the reflection tree, it is not uplifting. It is downlifting. It is depressing. It is downsizing. What does it mean by absolute? I have taken here example of mathematics. -1 in mathematics is -1. +1 is +1. But if we do absolute of -1, then it becomes 1. And if we do absolute of +1, that is also 1. So absolute means you'll always get one value. You won't get two values. In this material world, it's called dvanda. Dvanda. Dvanda means two. Here there is happiness and sadness. And both have different feelings. Okay, one is happy. That's a different, it's an encouraging feeling. It's an uplifting feeling. But when one is sad, it is very depressing. Isn't it? Very, very depressing. Some people get so sad, so sad, so depressed. They lose faith in themselves and they think about suicide. Right? So that is duality. The depression over here is not uplifting. But in the spiritual world, the sadness is also happiness. Because -1 is also 1. So any kind of negative feeling in the spiritual world also results in positive only. So if you see in the spiritual world, that is the real tree, Krishna is there, conjugal love is there, parental love is there, friendship is there, dasa is there, and shanta is there. In all of these, there is happiness, right? But sometimes there is sadness also. Like Krishna leaves Yashoda and goes to Dwarka or Mathura. Then, the Vrajavasis, they become very sad. Now, in that sadness also, there is happiness. That is the difference. That is the difference. So, when we go to Krishna and we experience all kinds of feelings, emotions, even if they are externally negative, we will always get positive result from it. You understand this point? Spiritual world is non-dual. In material world is duality, dvanda. Any questions on this?
Mm, this duality, like it is there almost everywhere, no, Prabhuji?
In the
Duality.
material world,
Yeah,
this duality is there. It is not there in the spiritual world.
spiritual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes love stories happen. In that same love story, there is a lot of fighting also happening. And in Krishna's fighting, in his love story, it doesn't end up in murder, right? It doesn't end up in divorce, but there is fighting argument, but it is enhancing the happiness over there. That is the difference. Here, friends fight, and sometimes it ends up in murder, kidnap, right? You have heard these stories, right?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
But does it happen in the spiritual world?
No.
No. There is fights, there is arguments, but it enhances the happiness of Krishna, enhances the happiness of everyone. Now I'll explain you. In this material world also, sometimes sometimes some negative feelings also bring us happiness. But not in all scenarios, okay? In some scenarios, in some relationship. Like, sometimes the mother shouts at the child. She shouts at the child. But everything is done with love. It is not like when, the child hears the shouting and then he starts crying. No. He becomes more happy. And the mother is also happy shouting at the child. Have you seen such a thing? The mother is teasing the child and the child is also happy. So that is the time, even when negative emotion is thrown, you still get positive and positive feedback only. You're getting? But it doesn't happen always, okay? It doesn't happen always. Sometimes out of joking, the wife may joke on the husband, right? No, it doesn't mean that every time, husband would get angry and then they would divorce. No. Sometimes the husband takes the joke, sometimes the wife takes the joke, but it enhances their relationship, isn't it? Yes or no? It
Yeah.
enhances their relationship. It's
Yes. Yes.
everyone's experience. But that is only sometimes, okay? Most of the times the ego comes in picture and they start
Yes.
fighting like this.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Hey, yeah. So that's the thing. In this material world, so sometimes we experience non-duality. Sometimes. Not every time. Most of the time it is duality only. That's unfortunate. So we have to work with duty in this world. We have to be dutiful. We cannot just leave because I'm not getting happiness, so I'll leave everything. No. We have to be dutiful, doing our duty, and then perfect our life. Then we leave this material world and go to spiritual world. That's the secret. Okay. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Sometimes unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all the devotion service should be offered to the Supreme Person of Godhead. Unfortunately, so some commentators they give a wrong interpretation of this verse. Unfortunately, unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the reader to which it is not at all feasible. Such commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. So when Krishna says, "You surrender unto me," some commentators say there is something within Krishna that you need to surrender. Now, that cannot be applied to Krishna. Why? Because he says, "I am Param, I am the Supreme." So his inside and outside is the same. Okay, his inside and outside is the same. So those who don't know about Krishna, they may misinterpret this verse. They may say something like this: inside of Krishna you should worship and you should surrender and all. No, no. Krishna is Krishna. We are different. Okay, our inside and outside is different. Agreed. But that cannot be applied to Krishna, because Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is absolute truth. His body, his mind, he himself are one and absolute. What does absolute means? Plus 1 is also 1, minus 1 is also 1. Similarly, his body is Krishna, his internal body is also Krishna. There is no difference in it. It is stated in Kurma Puran as quoted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur in Anubhashya commentary on the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Deha Dehi Vibedyo Ayam Neshvarsya Vidyate Kavachit. This means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. But because the commentators do not know this science of Krishna, they hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind and his body. So there are commentators who will separate out Krishna. They will have big programs in Gita without the picture of Krishna, without worshipping Krishna. So that is not acceptable. Although this is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna, some make profit of such misleading people. They sell their own Bhagavad Gitas with their interpretations and then they make money out of it. There are some who are demoniac. They also think of Krishna but enviously, just like King Kamsa. Now some think enviously. Enviously means why Krishna? Um, there is a very nice story in Srimad Bhagavad. There was a king in Kashi whose name was Paundrak. And this Paundrak, he thought he is Vasudev. So he he had two artificial hands made on his body. That picture is not there. He made two artificial hands. Uh, let's see. In this particular serial, it was there. Okay. Hmm? So Krishna has four hands. Sorry. So Krishna is Vasudev. He has four hands. So he kept some artificial hands on his shoulder, and he was telling that I am Krishna. I am Krishna. So he started wearing like Krishna and moving like Krishna, and then he said that Krishna who is there in Dwarka is false. So he attacked that Krishna. He attacked Dwarka. But then Krishna sent his Sudarshan Chakra and got his head take off. So there are some envious people who are thinking of Krishna always, but as an enemy. That is not recommended. He was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna would come to kill him. This kind of thinking will not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional service. That is bhakti, anukulya. It should not be pratikul. It should be anukul. It should be favorable thinking of Krishna. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continuously. What is this? What is that favorable condition? Cultivation. It is to learn from a bona fide teacher. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, it is eternal, blissful knowledge. There is another scripture which is called Brahma Samhita. Um, yeah, it's called Brahma Samhita. This was spoken by Brahma, and he tells who is Krishna. He says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. Ishvara Parama Krishna. There are many Ishwaras. Ishvara means controller. There is controller of wind, Agni, fire, Varuna, Vayu. There is Lord Shiva who controls the mode of tamas. Brahma, he controls the rajas. But Krishna is Parama Ishvara. Of all these Ishvara, who is Param? Krishna. Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Now his body is how? It is eternal, full of knowledge, bliss. Anadir Adir Govinda. He is the oldest. Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. He is the cause of all causes. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. He is the origin of all, and he has no other origin. So this is the definition of Krishna, and that you learn from a bona fide teacher. And they will explain that's why his body is not material. It is Satchidananda Vigraha. Getting? But those who have not learned from bona fide teachers and they just know Sanskrit and they know how to translate, they'll get confused by Bhagavad Gita. Because you have to understand with context which word to use, what is the meaning of this. And because they never had learned from a devotee or a guru in the discipling succession, the Vaishnava Sampradaya, they'll come to wrong conclusions. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one becoming devotee. Understanding Krishna otherwise from the wrong source will prove fruitless. One should therefore engage his mind in the eternal form, the primeval form of Krishna, with conviction in his heart that Krishna is the supreme. He should engage himself in worship. There are hundreds and thousands of temples in in India, for worship of Krishna and devotional service practiced there. There is Udupi, there is Pandarpur, there is Sri Rangam. There is Dwarka, there is Vrindavan, there is Mathura. Everywhere there are temples of Krishna, right? So, why these temples are there? So that we can go there and pay our obeisances. We can lower our head before the deities and engage our mind, our body, our activities, everything in the service of Krishna. How many of you have been to old temples, and then you have seen some tortoise on the floor? Have you seen the tortoise on the floor? How many of you?
Yes, 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 Prabhuji.
Do you know what does that mean?
Prabhuji, this is one of Lord Vishnu's this thing.
Yes. Do you know why? What does that mean?
This is for some Shubha this thing.
See, there are many pictures. Um, let's say take this one. You see, there is a tortoise. Yeah, take this one. Yeah, these are good ones. What is the peculiarity of this picture? Can you tell me something? What do you see in a tortoise and what do you see here in this tortoise? There is some difference. Subtle, there is some difference.
Mm,
What is the difference in this picture and this picture?
this is oval, I think, Prabhuji. Like
No.
I, I think the hands are not out. That legs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. See,
Okay.
in this one, the tortoise is inside the shell, and in this one, it is outside. So when it
Yeah.
is inside, what does that mean? It is protecting itself. When it is outside, it wants to go around. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now you see, what is it? What is it shown here?
Outside, Prabhuji.
So what does that mean? When we enter temple, we see this tortoise.
Yeah.
This tortoise says that now use all your senses. There is nothing to be fearful here that you need to go back in your shell. In the temple, use all your senses. And what does it mean by using all your senses? Hands, legs, head, eyes, ears. What does it mean?
Engage in the worship
Yeah.
of the Lord.
Engage in the service of the Lord.
Service of the Lord.
Like ear. Ears to hear the songs of the Lord, the holy name of the Lord. Tongue to taste the prasadam. Nose to smell the tulsi or the flower that was offered. Eyes to see the Lord.
Yeah.
Hands and leg to do parikrama, to do chanting. So this particular thing signifies that. See, our philosophy, I mean, our tradition, Vedic culture is very philosophical. This particular thing means a lot. Okay. But sometimes some people don't know, they may put some flower on it and all that. But actually, it is very symbolic. It is to tell us that now use all your senses in the temple, in the service of the Lord. Okay, that's how you'll become fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer to Krishna Loka. One should not be deviated by unscrupulous commentators. One must engage in the 9 different processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing, chanting about Krishna. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. These 9 processes of devotional service. Where is? 9 processes: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. This was said by Prahlad Maharaj. Shravanam is hearing, Kirtanam is chanting the holy name, singing, Smaranam is remembering, Pada Sevanam is serving the lotus feet, Archanam is offering flowers, Agra, all that, Vandanam, prayers to the Lord, Dasyam, servant of the Lord, like Hanuman, Sakhyam, friend, and Atmanivedanam, complete surrender. So all this we have to do under the direction of the Guru. The 7th and 8th chapters of Bhagavad Gita have explained pure devotional service to the Lord that is free from speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and fruitive activities. Those who are not purely sanctioned may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like impersonal Brahmajyoti, localized Paramatma, but the pure devotee directly takes to the service of the Supreme Lord. So, in the process of spirituality, right, one may be attracted to Brahmajyoti, go and merge in the Brahmajyoti, or Paramatma, to see the Paramatma within, or see the Lord in all places. That is also another path of another level of spirituality. But the highest one is when the transcendentalist takes to the service of the Lord. There is a beautiful poem about Krishna in which it is clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of the demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve at the time of the supreme award of Krishna. So Devata worship, if we do, we won't get mukti. Okay, so that's why it is not so intelligent. Devata worship should be done in a detached manner, because the devatas are giving us, right, water, fire, and all that they are giving us. So out of gratitude one should worship the demigods. And Krishna says in 3rd chapter, the devatas, they send us rain, and then we do yajna to satisfy the devatas, and yajna harta is Vishnu. Okay, but if you worship the demigods to become happy in this world, if that's the aim, now I'll worship this demigod, I'll get this and all that, it's not so intelligent. That is the thing. It is, you can ask that from Krishna, and that is much more perfect, because the demigods, they will give you result, but they won't give you Krishna. Ultimate goal is Krishna, right? The demigods won't give it, because they said that they will tell you are asking about something else only. You're asking about richness, you're asking about this, that, education, this, that. Okay, you will get all this. If we ask for all these things from Krishna, yes, we can ask these things from Krishna also. There's no problem. If we ask it from demigods, then we should ask in such a way that we will use all this in Krishna's service. Then it makes sense. But what happens is most of the people who worship the devatas, they want for their own gratification only. Okay, and that is not so much appreciated. So worshipping the demigod in itself is not wrong. What is wrong is how they worship, what is the motivation behind it. Are you getting this point? Are you getting this point?
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So we will look into one axis of in Srimad Bhagavatam, how a devotee worships a demigod. Okay, how a Shuddha Bhakta worships demigod. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a story of Dhruva Maharaj. It may be wrong, it may not. Fourth canto maybe. Yeah, Dhruva Maharaj. Yeah. So once what happened is, there are these yakshas who killed Dhruva Maharaj's brother. So he went and he fought with the yakshas, and he was killing so many of them. Then his grandfather, Swayambhu Manu, he came and he told Dhruva Maharaj to stop fighting. And in that section, he told that the Yakshas, they worship the Kubera. And Kubera may be unhappy because so many Yakshas were killed. So you have to go and ask forgiveness from, Shama from Kubera. Okay. So now Dhruva had to go to a Devata. So now how does Dhruva does it? It's very important. So he says you have to pacify Kuvera because the Yakshas, they worship Kuvera. Huh. So he goes and he says, I'm sorry, I killed so many Yakshas. But Kuvera says, fine. They also attacked you, so therefore you killed them. Now you have come to me, you ask whatever you want. Yeah. So he said, now you have come to a Devata, you need to ask for some benediction, Vardhan. Because we are forced to give some Vardhan. So now you ask. So in this section, so in this section here only, sorry, Dhruva, he was a devotee. So what he begged was, he begged that he should have unflinching faith in and remembrance of the Supreme Personal Godhead. He should always remember Krishna, Smaranam. So he asked for Smaranam to whom? Kuvera. Now what is Kuvera famous for? What is Kuvera famous for?
He is a treasury head, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So,
Dhanakuber, yes.
yeah. So, generally people worship Kuvera for what?
For wealth.
Wealth. But you see what Dhruva Maharaj asked? Did he ask any wealth? Give me $1 billion.
No, supreme wealth.
So,
Yeah.
what did he ask? He asked for unflinching faith in Krishna. See, this is how devotees worship demigods. Another story I'll tell. In Mahabharat, Yudhishthir Maharaj, he would he would serve many brahmanas. But after the gambling match, he lost everything, right?
Yes.
So then he still wanted to serve the brahmanas because they came with him. But now he had no resources to serve them. What was his service? He would wash their feet, he would cook, he would arrange food for them, prasadam for them 3 times a day. That was his service. He would donate cows, but now everything was taken away from him. So now what to do? And these brahmanas, they were not ready to leave him also. They said, you are a very good person, we want to be with you. So then the guru of Yudhishthira Maharaj, Dhaumya, he said, you worship the sun god. You worship the sun god and he will benedict you with something. So there are 100 names of sun god. And Yudhishthira Maharaj chanted those names with great sincerity. Then the sun god gave him Akshay Patra. He said, once you cook in this, till Draupadi has eaten, the food will not empty from this vessel. You can feed as many people as you want. Once Draupadi eats, gone. And you will be using it only for your this thing, exile period only. So externally, Yudhishthira Maharaj asked for something, right, for himself. But his real purpose was what? His real purpose was serving the Brahmanas. Isn't it? So that's how a devotee worships a demigod. The purpose is completely different. But we see that common people don't do this, right? Common people only have their own selfish desires to be satisfied, right? That is unintelligent. Now you get the point?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. The devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall from standard, but still he should be considered superior to all the philosophers and yogis. Now, this was said in the previous verses that sometimes accidental fall may happen because of conditioning and because the pure devotee is not pure. He may do some silly mistake like Bharat Maharaj, or he may do something abominable. But then he will quickly come up and become saintly again. One who's always engaged in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be perfectly saintly. His accidental non-devotional activities will diminish and he will soon be situated without doubt in complete perfection. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down because the Supreme Personal Godhead takes care of his pure devotees. Okay, Krishna personally takes care. When Gajendra, when Gajendra called for um, when Gajendra called for Vishnu, he came flying, right? He didn't send anyone else to take care. He personally came and took care. So that's why he will personally take care. Therefore, the intelligent person should take the process to take directly to the process of Krishna consciousness and live happily in this material world. See, material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It is full of miseries. But if we take to process of Krishna consciousness, then we can live happy. Interesting, right? In a place where there is dukkhalayam ashashvatam, you can still live happy. How? If you take to the process of Krishna consciousness, if you take to bhakti, you will be happy. He will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna. Okay, we have finished the ninth chapter. Let's open up for some questions. Any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Okay, I don't see any questions coming, so we'll stop here.